Welcome to the Incredible Machines podcast, where we chat with incredible people doing incredible things. Today we chat with Gordon Reid, or maybe better known as Lucky Gordy. To intro with a quote from our learnings: the harder you work, the luckier you get. In this session we talk about how luck favors preparedness and a grateful positive attitude. That resilience and mental fortitude are key to extraordinary accomplishments. While community, networking, and giving back are catalysts for growth and fulfillment. But there's much, much more. So stay tuned as we introduce the incredible Gordon Reid. Is there anything else like he is?
Yeah, it's my saying that my dad always used to say to me was, "You're never too old for a happy childhood." I think he got robbed of his. He started working at 14, and I mean, he's one of my incredible machines. And he worked up until 53 when, then he had open heart surgery, kind of had a bit of a midlife crisis. Survived another 16 years, but I remember just saying, "You're never too old for a happy childhood," and I think that's why I love challenging or doing all of these things and try and inject humor in it. Try and drive your kids, or just be a better example.
We'll get to the humor bit. Okay. I love the chalk and that sort of stuff. We're going to talk. And cool. Guys, welcome. Thanks, Luke, my business partner and creative director, for joining me. I'm John Oliff, and I'm here with the incredible Gordon Reid. Just to segue into your happy childhood. So, born in Joburg, I didn't know that.
Born and bred in Joburg, like most good people. Loved it. The youngest of three boys, and really spoilt brat. As I'm sure my older siblings think I probably was. But happy childhood, great life early on in life. I think part and parcel why I call myself Lucky Gordy is because I do consider myself to be extremely lucky with the opportunities that I've had, the fun that I've had during my life, 52 years almost. There's no point in stopping now.
Yeah, and I think just for the listeners and viewers out there, so I think I remember how we met, and it was actually via Twitter or X now, guys. Twitter. And I think you were considered at the time, I don't know if you still are on that platform, but Twitterati, essentially, like one of the up and coming or like big names with lots of followers, comment, and you actually came to our defense in a topic that was going back and forth as a newfound business. So I remember that. So it was awesome meeting you. Such an honor to have you on the podcast.
Lovely.
And so I've got the first quote actually for us to start off with. Because we're doing this podcast and we're hoping to get really good at podcasting, and I think it's gotten a lot better along the way. But we're always looking to get better. I think that word better is going to come along. It's one of my words of key focus. But it's also a kind of a sampling exercise. I explained that to you, so you get to experience what a podcast is. Have you been on a podcast before?
Not like this.
Not live or in studio. So we're in the studio now. We're shooting this podcast. If people like podcasting, that's what we do. The reason I say that, because and it links to the quote, is it's to be explicit, but because the single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it's taken place. So we've been doing this podcast showing people what podcasting is like, but we do podcasting. The point is we want to make more podcasts for people to have a voice and that sort of stuff. So it is an honor to have you. You've done a bit of an introduction, but and you said you had a very happy childhood. It takes a bit of a turn, I think, downhill with your father's surgery. I don't know if you want to.
School. I think must have been standard 9. He was 53, fit and healthy. Never drank, never smoked, but he was working 16-hour days and stress running 2 supermarkets. So we never really saw him. And then all of a sudden, chest pain. My mother was working in a post-bypass ward, and the surgeon said, "Get him in here now." And he was literally on the brink of a heart attack. So I kind of think at that stage, that's when my eyes opened and thought, well, flip. So, okay, we are immortal, or my parents are immortal. That was a bit of a downturn there. But lucky, the stars aligned, and he didn't have a heart attack, and he came through that well.
And then you moved to Durban.
Moved to Durbs, come do post-matric. I did, my marks weren't great. I shouldn't really say this, but 9 and 10 were the best 4 years of my life. And Dad just didn't think my marks were good enough. I was passing. So I sent down to Durbs to come here, and love Durbs. I mean, Durbs has really become home, although even though my wife and I, we have lived overseas for 7 years and come back, but we've been back for 20 years now.
Yeah, so you say London and Army. Which one came first?
Army, and then met my wife at 22. But the Army was fascinating. I think that's maybe where something turned in my head. We ended up doing a fuss bait. It was a guy who was a couple of years ahead of me at school, and he said to me, Gordon, you can come here and you can mess around, or you can actually do something. I recommend you go on the junior leaders course and just make something of your life, otherwise you're just going to waste the year. So I didn't really know what he was on about, but for 10 months we got mauled, but learned a hell of a lot. Was on an armoured car called the Roycut. It was fascinating. I was the second last compulsory intake, but at the end of it all, you do this thing, it's called fuss bait, 4 days and 3 nights. There's no sleep. You're carrying on average 30 kilograms of weight on your back, and you're route marching 24/7 just about, but you stop and do a comprehension test in English in every hour, and then one in Afrikaans, one in English, one in Afrikaans, and there's obstacle courses and lectures and all sorts of things that you go through. Literally 4 days and 3 nights. You're walking at night and you're kind of falling asleep and like that. But afterwards you kind of look back and you go, so someone told me beforehand that that's what we're going to do, I would have given up on day one. But while you're in it and the corporal's sitting there going, come on, you can give up. There's the vehicle over there. Come, just sign here. Just say you're giving up. Now you're doing 10 months of training. And you go, no, stuff you. And also looking at the guy next to you and going, geez, if he's not giving up, then I'm not giving up. So that, I think, was a massive switch in my head to say, we're capable of doing a whole lot more. Like mental fortitude is a whole lot more important than physical ability.
Yeah, so I get this we'll get to the case study later on, guys, but there's a beautiful case study, but community and that having people around you is this big thing. Just before we get there, back to the comprehension test, how did that go? Like, what was that about?
It was tough. Obviously, I think I was the only English guy in the 7 or 8 guys that we were with, and then so there's a piece of literature to read, and then you got to answer the questions. So when it was in Afrikaans, the Afrikaans guys were helping me, although I was pretty much fluent at that stage, but in English I had to help them. So just, I suppose it's really putting you under pressure. That's what the whole exercise was.
And is it fail and you don't progress?
I don't think they even look at it, to be honest with you. It's literally just to grind you and just absolutely maul your mind because you're so tired, but you've got to try and make sense of it and answer some questions. And I suppose they're looking more at the teamwork, because essentially it's a wartime real example to see how you're going to function under pressure.
Yeah, that's incredible. And then from there to London.
I was a barman at Joe Cool's. I had a berth on a yacht. I was going Cape to Rio, and that was me, my life. I didn't want to, I wanted to go and experience the world. And this hot little blonde came walking in with my cousin, and that was 30 years ago this year. And the boat was forgotten about, which you always picture sort of sliding doors or where your life could have gone. But I met my wife a couple of years later. We moved to London, like most people our age, including your brother, who obviously that's how we also know you. Went over and went and worked there, but loved it. I studied IT when I was here. After I ran a big nightclub in Joburg. As you can tell, I've had a colourful past, but there's the lucky Gordy again. Studied a little bit of IT, went over there and ended up working in IT recruitment. Shot the lights out. I worked for the most amazing company, all petrol heads, only interested in you hitting your sales target so they can give you a chunk of money to go buy a sports car of sorts so that you can race around. It was pure perks. Really nice guys, dynamic work, like selling to the Unilevers of this world and L'Oreal and Diageo. Those were my 3 biggest clients. Made an absolute fortune off them, so thank you very much. And then had my first daughter there and came tearing home.
Okay. And reasons for coming home?
Yeah, home, eh?
Yeah, you need to come home.
This is home. Look, London's tough. A couple of things got to me there. It was pretty stressful. We work long hours, dark, dingy, 3:30, sun goes down. But also just too many people. Where we live at the moment, I can, if I've had a bad day at work, throw the phone on the couch. 3 minutes later, I'm on the beach, Virginia Beach. The nearest person's 500 meters away. You can make sense of it. Whereas there, if you if you want to go to the shops and 8 o'clock Saturday morning to make sure that you're there quick and easy, you and 3,000 other people have got the same idea. So
I heard you say that you said you shot the lights out, and I love that. We had a guest previously, and they had said like the two things about them. I think you can correct me, Luke, if I've got this wrong, but that they very humble, but they also excellent at the same time. So I was like, but so you said, what I heard you say is you shot the lights out, and then you digress straight to the team being like incredible, and that. So.
Yeah.
It was that. It's the high performance need that team in your mind.
Yeah, 100%. I was part of an amazing team, and we were the top ERP recruitment company in London at that stage. I was very lucky to land in there. Landed on a big training course, so they trained me, and then just loved it. I stayed there for 5 years, but earned some good money even in today's pound terms. Which, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. And then. We've both lost our fathers. How did your father pass?
So my mum got TB from a hospital in the UK. They moved across there in '99. We were living there at that stage too. And my mum got TB. They misdiagnosed her 6 times. She came back here, and they very luckily she got diagnosed, but the drugs that you get put on are absolute. I mean, they really smash your liver and your kidneys. So 2 weeks after she finished her TB meds, and if my dad wasn't there for that period of time, I can guarantee you she would have died. For the week that she was here, she lost 9 kilograms. That's how hectic it was attacking her, because they weren't giving her the drugs to start attacking back. So 2 weeks after she finished her meds, my dad had a massive heart attack in London and sadly passed away. So yeah, that was hectic. And I think, that was certainly a low point in my life, and we did have a lot of highs in between that. But exactly 10 years later, my mum passed away from cancer. So what happened was the TB meds cleaned out her system completely, and she literally, the body, she couldn't fight anything. Her immune system was gone. So she kept on getting sick, infection for like sort of 8 years. And then eventually the body kind of goes, what's going on here? And autoimmune leukemia, fought it once, and then the second time just said, leave me alone. Yeah.
Sorry to hear that. Yeah, my father passed with lymphoma or related. So the cancer is a big topic. It's also, I think it's a big topic. Is that the reason you got into the philanthropy?
No, funny enough, not. What happened was, obviously my dad passed away around that time, but I had 5 operations in 1 year. Like, never had a general anesthetic in my life up until the age of 40. And then literally the year that I turned 40, I had 5 operations, 2 sinus ops, tried to cut my hand off by mistake. Another story for another day. And then I had some cysts on my kidneys. They were nothing serious, but they just needed to be removed. So I kind of turned around and I said, I really want to get fit now. I was quite fit. I was playing probably third of squash,
Because you were provincial squash at one stage.
Yeah, school time, yeah. More cheese and wine than top of the pops. But anyway, we had fun. And so I said, no, I need to get properly fit now. Let me do something strange. So I saw a friend of mine in Joburg cycling in a cow suit. And I said, what on earth are you doing? She says, no, we raise money for childhood cancer. We're part of the cows. So it turns out they were launching literally here, around the corner, Kloof Country Club, 2 weeks later. So I popped along. And there was a guy there called Cordy, who's still quite involved. And he stood up and he said, look, part of the cows, what we do is we write down on a serviette something that we've never done before. Like, commit to doing something big. Like, just push yourself. Like, really, just try something, anything. And you write it on a serviette, legally binding document, and then commit to that and do that. So there was a guy there called Peter Stone, and he said, I'm going to do a half Ironman triathlon. I said, well, what's that? So anyway, 6 months later, I did a half Ironman triathlon. And that was kind of part of the start of my philanthropic journey. Turns out I was quite good at raising money, or maybe people related to, and I want to say this quite humbly, like an average athlete doing extraordinary things. I kind of think that's like, I'm not going to win any races, but I like pushing myself. I like pushing the mental boundaries. So that's really where it started. So since then, I did about 7 years work with the cows. It's a fantastic charity. They do amazing work. We parted ways just around COVID time. I just thought there were other charities to pour some energy into. You know, they're fantastic. They're also a big corporate. They've got a lot of support. They've got a lot of corporate support. And I'm really enjoying doing work with the other charities now. But in that time, or over the last 12 years, I've done about, I don't know, I lost count, maybe 8,000 kilometers in competitions. So be it Ironman, doozy, marathons in cow suits, whatever. I was telling Luke earlier, Amashova is a fun one for me because I've done it on a road bike, a mountain bike, a tandem with both my daughters, an ice cream bike with a team of 8 cows pushing and pulling me. I've done it on a hand cycle twice.
What's a hand cycle?
So something the paraplegics would use. Yeah, that only the 65, but still, let me tell you, it's tough. And then a BMX twice as well. So now the next step is probably a unicycle. I'd like to try and honor a mate of mine, Gray. Gray Bradford.
Okay.
I've got one of his at home, but I haven't learned to ride it yet. I don't have the discipline.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think you do. You just haven't unlocked it yet. One of the things you said, I heard, and look, we'll have your links so all the listeners and watchers can link directly to you and find you on LinkedIn and Twitter and wherever you are.
Perfect.
Those links that you supply. Lucky Gords.
Gordy, yeah.
Yeah, and your humbleness comes out, but because I really believe you make your own luck. And
100%.
I think you've done that. So
attitude of gratitude. The old cliche, but it certainly works. The luckier you believe you are, the luckier you become.
Yeah. And then one of the really interesting points of your lifeline that I'd seen was that and we've had this among guests, I think my brother has this in common, the traverse across categories. It's been really interesting to see people just like jump and apply stuff to different categories. So you're in finance and whatever, but you started in sales and all that stuff. Do you want to talk about those traverses?
Yeah, so I've always loved sales. Really love meeting people. Actually chatted about it this week on Plays It In. I met a guy 20 years ago and he says, I love meeting people because I don't know which one's going to make me a millionaire. And if that's your motivation, then that's your motivation. You know, I love meeting people because 100% there's just different experiences to be out there. Yeah, some money along the way is inevitable if you work hard enough.
We need to thrive in capitalism, through capitalism. Yeah.
For sure. No, unapologetically capitalist. So what happened was I came back to Durbs. I ran a print marketing and branding business for 16 years. It got to the point where I could see print dying. Because of all my philanthropy, things were really taking off. And I sold a concept event to 8 out of 10 of the biggest malls in the country. They said, bring it, let's go. So I walked out of my print business after 16 years. I won't go too much into that. Walked out of there, and I was about to run my very first event at Gateway. Gateway said, "Bring it, let's go." And essentially, it's a run around the mall. Without giving too much away, we are still going to try and reinvent it again in the near future, because it's just brings feet to the mall. And COVID hit, so. That was COVID was a lovely time. Spent fantastic time with my girls and my wife at home, but a bit stressful on the financial front. So we try to get the whole concept going using AI and Google Indoor and all sorts of things, and that didn't really work out. So a good friend of mine said to me, he said, look, you've got a serious network. You've obviously got an aptitude for learning. He runs it's Discovery's largest insurance brokerage. And he runs that. And he said, why don't you come in? We want to start a commercial insurance division. You understand commercial because you've been selling marketing companies. You understand how they tick. We'll teach you. We'll carry on, and then you can also become a full financial advisor, Discovery financial advisor. And that was literally 4 years ago. Walked in there, been studying my backside off for the last 4 years, and it's going nicely. We've turned the hockey stick and starting to absolutely fly now. Very fortunate because of the philanthropy work that I've got a large network and large database of people to call on, and somehow doing all these crazy events buys you credibility.
Yeah, I love that you've a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
Because some people aren't. The people on this show, the Incredible Machines, definitely are. So you fit into that category 100%. The humbleness as well shows. Just in terms of the next question, so we've done we've actually talked a piece of advice, and we can get to this case study now, but maybe into the plans for the future, I think, and plans for 2025.
Sure.
We'll start there.
So 2025 on the work front is just to give better advice and learn more about the invest side of things on Discovery, forever learning. Got some massive goals there this year with regards to that, but where I really like to thrive too is the exercise side of things. So last year I did something called Run for Ranges and Rhino Peak, two of the nice challenges that I like supporting. We're going to do them again this year. But I said if my knees last Run for Ranges, then I'm going to try Comrades this year. So I've never done a Comrades before. We have done some very long trail runs, but I think living in KZN, you've got to try everything. So I don't know, I've done 10 plus mid-mars. I did 2 doozies. That's also quite a fun story. Someone who many KZN people will know is Brett Challenor. About 3 weeks before the one doozy, he says, "Gords, should we do the doozy?" I'm like, cool, no problem. I was fit at the time, super fit running. And literally got hold of the doozy guys. Hey, listen, we want to do this for the cows. We want to raise some money. And they thought, this is great. We need to inject more people into the paddling. So literally, we climbed in the boat. We went up and down Blue Lagoon, 5 kilometers. He said, "You ready?" And that was it, 120 kilometers over 3 days, doozy. The first whitewater was Ernie Pierce Ware. So a photo of me sort of doing this, and Brett's he's got his eyes closed and he's chilled. But that was a fantastic experience. I still think it's one of the best challenges around.
Well, you did it again.
Yeah, I did it twice.
Yeah. So it was clearly, even after 5K and a quick 3-week training, it was good enough to do again.
Yeah. No, I tell you, it's a good mental challenge. It's beautiful. KZN is beautiful. That's why we live here. Hot weather, nice cold rivers, nice cold beer after the river.
Yeah.
All the important things.
What's been the most challenging decision in the last 5? I mean, that walking out of your business, or was there been big ones for you?
Yeah, walking away from the business was a tough one. It was made extra tough because I walked out the month before COVID, and I saw what my business partner went through after that. It was an incredibly tough time, and he certainly turned the corner. But we've had a lot of tough decisions. I think after the riots, that's it. I was on an airplane. I was going back to the UK. I'm happy I didn't go. I think the UK's got their own challenges. So making that decision to stay was tough, especially when you're sitting in an office. You can still smell the buildings burning around you, stuff we saw, stuff we felt. I wasn't with my family. They were in the Midlands. It's not really fear that you want to feel, I completely get it. People are desperate. I feel for them. Our politicians need to do better. And that's not me talking from a place of privilege and me wanting more. I want more for others. So it's a tough decision staying in Africa, but at the same time, we are blessed. We are so blessed.
I think we've spoken about before on the podcast, but it's like a kind of an evolutionary theory or link to that. I don't know. I'd love to hear some comments on this. But the people that stay are exactly the right people because they stay. Because it's an opt-in. Like I believe you can leave if you try hard enough. There's ways to leave, but the people that stay are the best people. They've opted in, and then the ones that for whatever reason think they can't leave. Eventually, it's going to dawn on them. They'll wake up to the moment that they have opted in, and they need to carry on going. And then we make a plan. And we carry on going.
Great example I heard of that was my headmaster chatted to me many years after school, and he said, 94, through that whole period, a lot of the Afrikaans, the education department were Afrikaans ladies, and they didn't have an option. People like me, I do have another passport. Both my daughters have got other passports as well. But if you don't have a decision, you got to kind of make it work. And I think often having an option is a bad thing, because then you're hedging your bets. Whereas if you're all in, you're all in. And I suppose that's where we should really be, is all in.
Yeah. And there's a couple things that have come up, and it's entrepreneurial mindset. So one of the things is you said if you had known about that army training, you wouldn't have done it. And that's the thing about like running a business, opening a business. If you actually knew what it's like, but you do know now, and somehow we forget about it. We try to just, it's like, I don't know if it was in this specific case study that you sent or somewhere about down the line, but we entrepreneurs are great con artists. We con ourselves that it's going to be all right. So one of the runners was, he says he only runs 5K intervals, and then when he gets there,
strings them together.
He just promises himself that he'll do another 5Ks, whatever. So it's those short stints.
So I think the community, only another park run left. Another park run left.
Yeah, exactly. And so you con yourself into that. So I love this. This quote came to me while I was reading something you had said, and it's we make plans and God laughs. So, and it's tied into anything you would have done differently. That was the question.
Yeah, I don't know. I think everything happens in God's time. I don't like to live with regrets. I think they hinder you. So, everything will happen in God's time. I think plan those crazy things, do those things, because God might be calling you one day soon. Who knows? And will you be able to look back and go, geez, I gave it my all, or are you going to live with regret? So I don't think we can live with regret, no matter how many mistakes you might have made. I don't. Everything happens for a reason, and everything happens in a time, and that's shown to us all the time. You think, oh, why can't I do that yet? And then something comes up, or something turns up, another opportunity turns up, or something goes wrong, and you say, flip, why? But that could have been shielding you from another tragedy. So, I think you got to make those plans and let God laugh and try your best.
Yeah.
Maybe laugh along with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Happy days.
Yeah, I think it was something that you said about not taking it too seriously. It's good to laugh. You got to laugh. You got to keep humor about you. Just before we get there, the philanthropy, I think it's something that I've been looking into, and how can I get better at that? It's because I've seen and read, and I've looked at leaders where their best achievements, they're glowing, where they glow when they speak about that work that they do for their NGO, or that's something they built. That's the proudest thing they've done. I think Robbie Brosen, for instance, from Nando's, I watched him, we had lunch with him as part of the Entrepreneurs Organization, and then he presented his NGO, and it was so interesting to see how he just wanted to focus on that.
Yeah.
That was, he's literally built Nando's with his partner, but his glow was that he was saving lives and he was doing this thing. And if you look at, and then Bill Gates, for instance, I use as a shortcut too. It's like, so you can just look at where they are, and the proudest thing they've done is the philanthropy. So maybe we should just be thinking about doing that a little bit earlier. Obviously, you need to have something to give, but I think what you do is a way to do that. I think very well. 100%. Like you get other people to support you, and they are becoming philanthropic, and you raise the funds by doing the effort. So I think that's
show them
incredible.
where it's spent responsibly.
Yeah.
So that might be a regret. It's something I do wish I got into philanthropy earlier. I only made the decision at 40, and unfortunately with Roundtable, who's a Roundtable Durban too. They sponsored me a massive amount last year for Run for Rangers. And I see these guys, I'm actually meeting with them tonight. I see these guys and they're all below 40, and there they are, especially Roundtable 2, really helping out loads of different charities. So I wish I'd kind of become part of that journey earlier, but time and a season for everything. I've done a lot of good in the last 12 years. It keeps me sane. I find it, I suppose, in sales, I find it easy to stand up in front of people and say, right, I'm going to go and suffer for 10, 11 hours. Like, would you like to support? And on that note, the 3 charities that I've chosen this year, I've worked with 2 before. The first one, obviously, we're doing Comrades. First one ever. So I think it's 90-something days away. And almost died doing 42 on the weekend. So to think about doing another 42 and then another 6 after that is grey hair stuff. But it's the kind of stuff that helps me sleep when you're exercising that much, but also keeps you awake. So I want to run for the Honorary Rangers for Comrades. I think it's a fantastic charity. There's quite a few that you can choose from, and I chose the Honorary Rangers purely because it seems like a bit of a wildlife theme this year. And then we're going to be running for Run for Rangers. Run for Rangers is something a guy called Harry Bailey dreamt up, 21 today actually, 3 years ago, and it's a 100-kilometer trail run over 2 days through Babananga Game Reserve. But the nice thing is it's very limited numbers. I think there were only about 25 of us last year and 12 rangers. So every time you take off, you just got a different guy next to you, whether it's one of the major sponsors or whether it's one of the rangers, or whether it's a 26-year-old rep who's passionate about wildlife. So the amazing people that we met on that trip, and just such giving people. So yeah, if I had a regret, it would be I would have liked to get into philanthropy a little bit earlier and challenging myself.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting because have you ever heard of this guy? He's got a TED Talk, but he only worked that's the first time I know him because of my TED Talks that I love. And then I was introduced to him during an event where he spoke for Women's Day. He only, in their unit, their poaching unit, they only employ females, only women.
Wow.
So there's multiple reasons for that. But the one was that, and there's quotes from African leaders about the honesty, integrity of women, and that they should be leaders, and they're just less corruptible for whatever reason, potentially because of the connection with community, and they're way more connected. But that he was running these failing troops, not failing, but they weren't going the way he had predicted, and then he stumbled onto this insight that made him start testing if any female volunteers wanted to come in.
Wow.
And the insight comes from, he's like, I shook his hand, he is a unit, like Jocko Willink sort of guy, like a 6 foot, he was absolute beast, and his hand just was like a mitt covering my arm. He served like, I don't know how I'm going to get it wrong, but the terms in Iraq, he's Australian Army, Special Forces, and he's a couple terms in Iraq, Afghanistan, and he was in those sort of wars. And he went down South America. I think he maybe discovered himself a bit, and he came and he wanted to devote himself to this. So he came in, and where his insight came from is that the unit that he was part of, they had in war, they drive around the different cities in Iraq and wherever. And that unit now had a button in the car. Can you imagine like a button in the car? If you push that button, within 15 minutes, everything around you is toast sort of thing, and you're safe. Like they'll literally, because those soldiers, they invest so much money into them. Those walking around as soldiers, the way they train, they're worth millions. They have to rescue them. So they've got this, they'll deploy the jet, whatever the special unit is, to come and save you. You're in a canyon, whatever, they'll come and clear it out, boom, and get you out of there. And that unit, that I don't think he had ever pressed that button, but he knew, he spoke about it. That unit was now taking in females, was taking in women. It was like a thing. It was like, wow, they're taking in women into this, the special forces that save special forces. Wow. So he started taking in women into his anti-poaching unit, and he just found like that they were like incredible. They were just absolutely incredible. And that, like, again, almost incorruptible. And I think there's also the way he talks about it, there was something about getting woken up in the middle of the morning by a woman with an AK-47 that like the men just subdued and like went and got in the cuffs and kind of thing. But they were capable of arresting their own as well. Jeez. Like, but it was such a phenomenal talk. I actually looked for the YouTube clip and try to send it to you. But the wildlife's quite easy.
As the father of daughters, I agree with that. I mean, want to see women thrive more, get more opportunity.
Yeah. And the wildlife thing you spoke about. So I wanted to talk about it a little bit, but I don't know if we had the time. So it was like, the philanthropy has been around cancer. I don't know if we touched enough about that, but then seems like wildlife sneaking in there, and then right at the end you went full tilt on that. Like why is that?
Yeah,
so you said keep them alive. It's because you have daughters. You want those children and their children to see it.
Yeah, I mean, the wildlife, we see it getting attacked. The environments are getting attacked all over the world. So I feel an importance to fight for that. And Don Bailey, mate of mine, whose son Harry made up this, he phoned me, I think it was year before last. He's like, "Oh, Gordon, I need you to come and run this event with us." I was like, "Oh, Don, I've got too much on my plate, man. Please, like next year," fobbing him off, like thinking, okay, dodged a bullet. Anyway, last year, January, "Gordon, we want you to come and run with us." And anyway, so I committed to run for Rangers, and I think being immersed in that and understanding what they do. I mean, a good mate of mine, Chad, even donated these night sites, so 40,000-50,000 rands worth of night sites. He donated those when he heard I was running this, and I loved that because in charities you'll find you got the SPCA, the dog and cat people, and you got the cancer people, you've got the wildlife people, and there's quite a few different things, and that's why when you put on an event, you kind of appeal to. Or you do an event and you running for a different charity, you appeal to a whole different class, or not a class, audience. And that's what I'm loving at the moment is I'm feeling real passion towards this because I see the people on the ground. We actually went and ran with the Rangers. The guys are sitting next to. I've got this magnificent photo. I must maybe send it through to you. You can quickly pop it up on screen. A guy called Bandile who I met Ranger last year. But this guy's passion and like he probably earns next to nothing in the greater scheme of things, but he's there putting his life on the line. He's training this dog. He's disciplined. He's like buff and he's built, and this guy's giving his all. And when you see that kind of passion and trying to save our wildlife, it really opens up the eyes. Look, they did put a fantastic show on for us too. The place that I was staying in, it was 15 grand a night. It was the most magnificent room right on the White-Umfolozi plunge pool, massive bathroom. And then we even did a rhino dehorning on the Monday. So if someone does want to come and run for Rangers, and you reckon you can raise 40 grand, like come and run and come have your eyes open, come and stay in the beautiful northern KwaZulu-Natal at the most exquisite 5-star resort, eat beautiful food, meet superb people, and come and see what those Rangers do on a daily basis and grow some appreciation, and you'll do it again. It's life-changing.
As I mentioned, my examples, the Bill Gates, the Robbie Bros, and the people that are doing such amazing stuff, there's so many we can't even name, but it's individuals. And that's maybe a bad example, guys, so sorry about that, because there's ways to get involved where you don't have to just go and do all the work. You can literally join a community like you did. And that makes it easier. And then, like you said, someone writes something on a napkin, you support them or you join them on it. Yeah. So I love that.
That's how the cows were born, is literally just pushing people to do something that they've never done before. And it's a fantastic charity. Jeez, we helped raise millions and millions for them. Joburg still does a great job. They're all part-time. None of them work for the organization full-time. And they push people. I mean, Midmar, the first year we swam Midmar, because we went and chatted with Wayne Ridden and asked him if we could come and partake. We had 35 swimmers and we raised 40 grand. The last year that I did it was the year that COVID came in, and we had 400 swimmers and raised 800 grand. Wow. So that's just the power of taking an event. There's nothing out of the ordinary, but a lot of people have got a phobia of swimming across a dam, and then people committing and saying, right, well, I'm going to raise 2 grand or 6 grand or 10 grand or whatever, and then just go and do it. And I think if that would be a takeaway for anyone to hopefully take away today. If you are feeling a bit stagnant, if you are worried about your health, we all should be worried about our health. And you need that little kicker, just commit to doing something. That's the only way my brain works, is biting off more than I can chew and writing it down, committing to it, admitting to it on social media so that you've got some kind of accountability, and then go and smash it.
That's really interesting. So we got the saying, bite off more than you can chew, and chew like crazy.
Chew like crazy.
So, and that's great. The publicity, I love that. So make it public. I mean, that's essentially, I think, one of the main reasons why wedding ceremonies, there's guests and there's signatures.
Yes.
Because you've made a promise to your partner, and it's about making it public. And now those people are meant to hold you responsible.
Sure.
So it's a very interesting thing. The networking being such a powerful tool, how's that worked for you in terms of like the other things you do? So you do a lot, like the public speaking, and is there anything there?
Yeah, all of it is, again, meeting incredible people and getting incredible opportunities. So the public speaking, motivational, some kind of stuff, I still do think of myself as the very average athlete trying to do crazy things. So the kind of things that I've spoken at are with entrepreneurs, when I was obviously still an entrepreneur. Being a financial advisor is very much also like being an entrepreneur, because you're managing your time and your money that does come in. But networking is a fantastic way. You know, I joined BNI 19 years ago when I came to Durbs, when I started the print business. And met the most incredible people. And like I say, I still network with a lot of them. I think the philanthropy and the crazy exercises, you also meet incredible people there, driven people. And maybe that's the turn on, is I like driven people. I like people who want to set some crazy goals and do something different rather than fade into the background. So the networking drives me. I'm a president of a networking chapter out in Belito at the moment for the next 7 months, called BNI Rainmakers, and there's 20 of us there. Last year we passed around 4.6 million rands worth of business. This year we should hopefully do closer to 10. So yeah, small, medium entrepreneurs, philanthropy, you've got to meet people. And even if it's not a strength, a lot of the people that do come there aren't good at public speaking, but you get up and you present. And after your first year, you're presenting well. So that's another whole family. And Belito being the fastest growing city in the country, we've got to be out that way.
Yeah, no, I think it's brilliant. I mean, throughout what you've spoken in your lifeline, it's consistently performance-based, so in the arm, and community-based, so performance with the right community, so the right people. So, and you're putting yourself into that situation. So back to philanthropy, and then we'll move to the case study, because I think the case study is also community-based.
Yeah.
And also it's like, I mean, he's not doing it for the money. I mean, that's a side effect of it, so it's beautiful. The name is Jesse Ilza.
Yeah.
Is that how you?
Yeah, I'm glad you attempted his surname first. Let's just call him that.
I was going to digress to you. I was going to give you this shot. But so the point there, guys, if you're out there, to be a philanthropist, actually, it seems like all you have to do is time, energy, and attention. You don't have to donate the money. You can give your energy. You could actually go run and raise something, and it's not like you have to go and set up the GoFundMe page. There's people for that.
Yeah.
So go get involved. We'll have the links in the show notes to anything that Gord's recommends. But yeah, I love that. So this case study, I loved this, and I was saying before the show that I stumbled onto Jesse before and it's an interesting story of how he sold his coconut water to Coca-Cola, and he did this like Don King Kong sort of reenactment where you got a baseball player to come in and just shoot him away, so that the Coca-Cola guys were really impressed and they wanted to work with him. But then this one really, I love this, because he says, I started my company out of the passion for running and the amazing friendships that are created from it. So I think that's the community bit that you talked about. And then I can see you in this exactly, but so something you've said there. Running for me was not about winning. I never won a race in my life. I came 39,275th place in the New York Marathon. Running has always been about prioritizing my health, pushing myself, and camaraderie. So this movement, this campaign, I don't know, we talked a little bit about it, but what do you love about it?
Yeah, just everything. And he's I like that he's a bit of a scruffy guy. So, first impressions, you kind of look at him and go, wow, maybe not. But he's definitely done extremely well in business. And the running events that he's putting on in the US, I want to really almost try and mimic here, because we have got a very staid, we've got all the races. We do have a lot more things like high rocks and all of that coming through now, which is fantastic. But running is I suppose the barrier to entry is small. You need a pair of running shoes. So even if you get a pair of second-hand running shoes, you got those shoes and then you can go and run. So the mass participation events that we are dreaming of are along the lines of what Jesse has done. He's done the all-day running company, where it's almost like a splashy fen running event. Without giving too much away. So we're looking at something like that I want to do for the community, but also then to raise the money for my crazy charity so that I can go and do the crazy races and make sure we benefit the right people. And I think that's the biggest thing for me, is the responsibility of making sure that money is spent correctly. I don't know if he is sort of charity-based. I would guess that he does quite a bit of philanthropy. It doesn't really come through in his socials, but what does come through is the sense of community and ordinary people doing extraordinary things, just pushing themselves a little bit harder in the right environment with the right encouragement and changing a mindset.
Yeah, that seems like a good way to do it. I think it's a sustainable way to do it, at least, and it's not just like sustainable in a boring sense at all. It's like, but you said, doing extraordinary things, doing incredible things, as we would say on the show. So the thing I loved about this campaign is really, it ties into one of our principles, which is experiences replace messages. It's like he's created an experience that does replace a message. It's like running, and it would be community based and that sort of stuff. So that's just ticks that box really nicely. I loved your shorthand that you had for it. It's the splashy fen of running, of races. I was like, wow, yeah, people get that. So one of the reasons I like that in it, because it fits into our AQ category, the adaptive quotient of we call it marketing, which is the crazy, be strong, or think differently. So it's like no one's thought of this yet. It doesn't really make sense. Splashy Fen's quite chilled, relaxed, music vibe, and like sleepover in muddy tents. And now it's like, yeah, but let's make a race out of it. So it's totally different. And I love this quote. I think it might be attributed to Tim Ferriss. Might get this wrong, guys, but don't be the first, be the only. And like, that's it. And that's the thing about that. It's also interesting because like we're in a business now where we might be the only right now that do, or at least in South Africa, that do podcast marketing, full service, everything. But that's not going to be for long. So whenever you become the only, that's only for a short time, and then you've got to, it seems like you'll have to carry on going and moving and progressing on that.
Yeah, keep evolving. Yeah. So as the episode is only going to come out in a couple of months' time, I can tell you a little bit about it. So what he does is he sets up this whole festival, camping, everything in the middle of a big field, and he's got a mile-long track all the way around the field. And so if you normally run 5 miles, come and do 10. If you normally do 10 miles, come and do 20. If you normally do an ultra, come and do a super ultra, So that's what we're going to do. We're going to create a bit of a party vibe. We're looking at September, and we're going to create the very same thing. He calls it all-day running company. And, just bring some players in, the Discoveries and the Vitalities and all of those kind of guys. That's who we really want to pull in. Nutrition guys, yoga, the full bank shooting match. So just make it a healthy day where loads of people can come. We also want to invite corporates. We also want to invite running clubs. We can turn it into a bit of a pissing contest with the running clubs so that we can see a relay race, team of 5. Let's see who can run the most miles in 12 hours. So that's really what we're dreaming, and that's why he resonates with me, because he loves business, he works hard, but then he does these extraordinary events where he pushes people and the sense of community comes through. I want to put the charity angle on the back end of it so that every single person who's paying money for an entry fee, a large portion of that is going to go to charity. Chosen charities, which we've chosen already, benefit them and give back to community, sort of keep the momentum going.
Here's one. Because the question is about who are your incredible machines, and I think you said your mom and your dad. But going to Jesse now, if you had Jesse on a podcast, do you know what you'd ask him?
Yeah, like what drives you? I mean, I watched something the other day. He's so family orientated, and he's just so chilled. I wish I was a lot more like that. Like, how do you keep that stayed? They were on their way skiing, and he's got lots of kids, and all 4 of them had to go and jump in a freezing lake on the way to the mountains. I like the way that he's powerful in business, humble, does a lot of good for communities. I'd like to have a sit down and listen to him and not ask too many questions, rather let him chat.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because it sounds to me like you talk about yourself from what I've heard today. So I think it's just been incredible. Is there anything else, anything we've missed that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so the challenges this year, Comrades obviously coming up in June. Then we've got a run for Rangers in July. Really need to raise a lot of money for that. So just with regards to that, any of the charity events that I do, if you do have corporates who are looking at spending some money, we do get Section 18As, which obviously help out as well. So it's not just money down a drain. I'm very, very particular in the charities that I choose and how their money is spent. Always have been, because if you stand in front of someone and ask for money, you need to, you can't have that. You'll get egg thrown on your face. Rhino Peak in September is another one. Southernburg, straight up and down a mountain, 22 odd kilometers. Took me 5.25 hours last year, which was a tough one. And again, there's a great charity there, is Endangered Wildlife Trust. They do phenomenal work, and really, really need a lot of support. They support the wild dog relocation. They do bearded vultures, a lot of the endangered wildlife, including rhinos that need our protection. We have to protect them for our kids. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's incredible. I think that's a good place to wrap.
Yeah.
You happy with that?
That was great, man.
Yeah,
Thank
amazing.
you.
The incredible Gordon Reid.